when we are making the best kebabs, you're putting almost 30% beef tallow, mutton tallow.
Beef tallow or any such products, they are commercially also used on a large scale in a lot of many products, whether it's the makeup industry, whether it's the balm industry. If we are using a huge amount of saturated fat, may it be ghee, may it be margarine, dalda, or beef tallow, any oil of such characteristic, that will have higher ratios of triglycerides in it, will have higher ratios of lipoproteins in it, and that will be, you it's something that you cannot relish freely. You will have to be cautious about eating as well.
What will happen if a vegetarian person consume beef tallow and fish oil?
Nothing horrible would happen to them. The only thing is it will come as a shocker. That would be a cultural shock. Oh, they had this.
There's no point in them consuming few products only because they have been told by their other friends or by WhatsApp University or by Google University saying that they need to be taking these.
Hello and welcome to the Indian Express. I'm Charulata Biswas, and today we will be talking about beef tallow and fish oil, the whole controversy that has erupted in Andhra Pradesh, wherein the ruling government TDP has alleged that the Tirupati Laddus, they contain fish oil and beef tallow, and their presence was found in ghee that was used to prepare the Laddoos. To understand what is beef tallow and fish oil and where they are used, I'm being joined by Michelin star chef Suvir Saran and Arooshi, who is a nutritionist, and they will be talking to me about what is it and where all do we see them in products. So let me first start with Suvir. Suvir, you have traveled all across the world. You have prepared all sorts of dishes. So firstly, can you tell our viewers what is beef tallow and fish oil and where do we really use them?
So beef tallow. Hi, Charulata, thank you for having me. Beef tallow is rendered fat from both beef and mutton. The name suet also goes there. And this is fat that has no odor, no scent, no personality. It's very neutral. It also lasts a long time. So when it's rendered in your home, when it's rendered by a butcher, there's no better fat to cook with to keep things very clean in their flavor. So if you're making a laddu with beef tallow, you're guaranteed that the essence of that taste that you want, whether you're using cardamom or saffron or any of the spices that are characteristic of a laddu, the beef tallow will not give it its own personality. Okay. Compare it to ghee. Ghee has a nutty taste, depending on whether it's cow or buffalo. When was it made? Is it homemade? Is it freshly made? Ghee takes on personalities of its own. So we can use it in making French fries, making cookies, biscuits, great cooked food. Beef tallow is used wherever you want to use fat, with the premise that food will keep longer, it will stay crisper and safe for longer, and will have a richness that's unmatched and will not fight the foods that you're cooking it in. So that's beef tallow. Fish oil, on the other hand, little bits of it go a long way. Think of it as the bacon bits of cooking or the MSG, the Ajinomoto that we add to food. A little drop of it in dishes can give you this umami flavor, this saltiness, savoriness, lazeezpun that nothing else will match. Too much and it smells of putrid, rotten fish, sulfurous. So it has to be used very carefully, but it's a potent tool for enhancing flavor. And I assume that's what they were using the two.
So, Suvir, when you talk about the umami flavor, and I just think about the cultural significance, is it widely used in the West, or do we also see their usage in India or in Asian countries? Can you give some perspective on that?
In today's India, you and I talking about this is a dangerous thing. It's a taboo subject, beef. But our cooking, in homes of all ilk, when we were making kebabs, the best curries are rendered better with a little bit of addition of fat. In fact, when we are making the best kebabs, you're putting almost 30% beef tallow, mutton tallow. because that charbi gives it that tenderness, the softness, the mouth feel, the moisture, the silky texture, the smoothness on the palate, on the tongue is coming from it. We don't talk about it, it's there. Of course, people of both religions, the majority religions of India, are very careful about using mutton fat, using, even sometimes chicken fat. But it's used a lot across India and all parts of it.
Okay. And Arooshi, Suvir was pointing at the flavor, right? I wanted to ask you, what are the nutritional value that it contains, starting with beef tallow?
See, like the chef quoted that, when we add fat to any food, it gives its texture, it gives that aroma. So, generally when we talk about any cuisine which has a lot of non-vegetarian food in it, it is always dipped into floating pools of oil, and that is what it's giving it a different color, texture, and that smoothening. But, when we talk about nutrition, beef tallow or ghee, they both are saturated fats. So where we talk about when we talk about this cardiac health, yes, it does impacts it greatly. So if we are using a huge amount of saturated fat, may it be ghee, may it be margarine, dalda, or beef tallow, any oil of such characteristic, that will have higher ratios of triglycerides in it, will have higher ratios of lipoproteins in it, and that will be, it's something that you cannot relish freely. You will have to be cautious about eating as well. So yeah, the nutrition, it's good for the skin, it's good for hair, but in the restricted quantity, because obviously all the fats that we have, they are a rich source of vitamin A, D, E, K, which is fat soluble vitamins. So, and of course, they do add to the bone health, the, bone marrow, and various other aspects in keeping our organs healthy. But where we talk about the cardiac health, which is a lot in a trend these days, a lot of youngsters, and, we hear about this news every now. So, we should know what we are eating. And talking about beef tallow or any such products, they are commercially also used on a large scale in a lot of many products, whether it's the makeup industry, whether it's the balm industry, or, if you're using any balm for your pain relieving, that also has that component in it. Or whether if you're using any commercial product, for example, these days there's a trend of adding a spoon of fats in your coffee or tea. That again has these kinds of fat in it. The question comes how well the people are aware about it. The awareness is the question. So if you're aware, you can, monitor the quantity of those fats, and you can you can balance it out accordingly.
And I think it's beyond fat. I think I'm the only chef on the Nutrition Advisory Board of Harvard Medical School's Brigham and Women's Hospital, teaching nutritionists, epidemiologists, surgeons, physicians, nutrition and food-related issues. And what we've learned is good fat is important for the body, and terrible fats like ghee and beef tallow and especially dalda are terrible for the body. So you're looking at trans fat, which is prevalent across India. There may be a little beam of hope in ghee and beef tallow, but as the amazing nutritionists who are about to for telling us the truth here, that ghee and tallow and dalda are terrible. But, trans fat versus saturated fat, a little hair of a difference. But we must be very careful, because good fats are essential for the body. Bad fats like ghee and beef tallow and butter are okay. Yes, of course, they'll make your skin healthy and your hair shine a little, but what they're doing to your arteries is you can't reverse it. So be smart about it and eat in moderation. And she's right. A lot of the skin strengthening, luxuriating creams that we put have bag balm, have the fat of these animals we don't want to eat and touch and kill. And we really use them in abundance. So be very careful. And labels are very... in India, especially, 90% of our dairy is corrupted by analogous dairy and analogous fats. So majority of our dairy is made with palm oil and dalda, which comes from other vegetables, and it's shortening and it's brick in your heart. If it's solid at room temperature, it's cement for your arteries. And please be very careful. Yes, you can eat that samosa 10 hours later after it's been deep fried, but that brick you're chewing into crispily and loving is a stone that will kill your heart. And so, we have to be very smart in this country.
So, Arooshi, what are the health risks associated with beef tallow? I know that omega-3 is present in fish oil. So that is something that people prefer, but are there any health risks that you would want to talk about?
Yes. So, see, when we talk about fats, generally when we talk the science about these fats, they have specific bonds in them, whether they have triple bonds or double bonds like that. So the complex the bond is in an oil, it's healthier for us because the body, it's taking longer to break it. So that's why we talk about polyunsaturated fats, which are healthy for us. When we talk about saturated fats, so these are all under the category of saturated fats. So they get easily absorbed. The body does not do a lot of work to digest it, to metabolize it. So that's when the very first triggering risk that we have on the platter is the obesity. And if the person is still not cautious about making the rightful choices, irrespective in the choice of oils, because that is the main thing that helps in cooking. That is one of the main major ingredients that we use. So in that case, it does impact our cardiac health highly. And like you said, omega-3 is very good for our health. Of course, it's very good. It keeps the heart healthy. It's a good, omega-3 really helps in maintaining the good HDL ratios in the body. And a very key ingredient to keep the arteries clean. It cleans the arteries, whatever lipoproteins or whatever, coagulated arteries we have, it helps removing, cleaning those arteries. But at the same time, omega-3 also comes with a little caution. So not everybody, is advised to take, we cannot freely advise people to take omega-3 because it's very heavy in nature. And people who have IBD, gut issues, or have liver issues, have fatty liver, we cannot recommend omega-3 to them because in that case, there will be a contraindication that an individual will have to experience.
And what will happen if a vegetarian person who has never had, say, even onion or garlic, in their lives, what happens if they consume beef tallow and fish oil and maybe a combination of it?
See, this question I was expecting, to be honest. And I'm not surprised that you asked me it. Nothing would happen. There would be no such health hazard happening to them. The only thing, it will come out as a shocker. I would want to ask here as a nutritionist, an individual today in today's time cannot survive without vital supplements. So do they know the ingredients about those supplements that doctor is prescribing them? Especially, iron-based supplements, or there are any multivitamin supplements that they're taking, which is in today's time, you cannot survive without taking it. So the capsules itself have gelatin in it, which comes from fish oil. So today, to avoid these kind of fats is almost impossible. Like in any form, there's no concept of saying, oh, I'm a vegan, I'm 100% vegetarian. No, even if you're breathing, there are certain kinds of elements that is going inside your body. Otherwise, everyone had been into Jainism, right? So nothing horrible would happen to them. The only thing is it will come as a shocker. That would be a cultural shock. Oh, they had this, which has questioned their religious practices. So other than that, it is healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
So Arooshi is saying that it's healthy and it's nothing. It's just a shocker for the vegetarians.
I think she's right. Yeah. In fact, not only do nothing happens to them, they get addicted to these foods because they're crisper, they're richer in flavor, they go down your palate better. They have addictive qualities. Your brain enjoys them better. You now wake up in the middle of the night eating the trash that is laced with these. So nothing bad happens. The only thing, as the amazing nutritionist said, is that you're shocked. But the bigger shock is you're being infiltrated by these products across many different platforms, from pills to creams to you're absorbing them subcutaneously without knowing them. So forget your religious high ground, moral ground. you're being touched by them in more ways than one. But let me talk about pills. That's the dangerous subject that America has given the planet, and India has rushed and made a part of their lives. In the European Union, in Asia, wherever we have blue zones where people live to be 90 plus without any metabolic syndrome issues, which are diabetes, obesity, cholesterol, and all of that, these people haven't taken to eating pills. Why? Because they eat whole foods. We are the land of the Ayurveda, which has forgotten what whole foods is. We are a nation obsessed with biryani, butter chicken, dal makhani, kurma, kebab, and trash. That isn't our home cooking. If we went about eating like Indians did in the old days, ghar ka khana with sabzis, with whole grains, sukhi sabzi, dal, with a little bit of raita, sometimes paneer, we were eating smart. We are mimicking the blue zones of the planet. The Icarians in Greece lived to be 102, sexually active without Viagra till 95, climbing mountains at 92. How are they doing it? They're eating dal, sabzi, ghar ka khana with a little bit of cheese and a little bit of yogurt, and doodh mein thoda, chai mein thoda doodh dal diya. That's the life they're living. They don't need protein supplements. They don't need pills. They live healthily. We need to go back to doing that. If we are vegetarian, ovo-lacto-vegetarian, we are living very smartly. We've forgotten our smarter ways. With Dr. Ramdev, Baba Ramdev telling us, coffee mein bhi dal do ghee, coconut oil dal do. Coconut oil is another dangerous fat. Don't just malign beef tallow and ghee. Coconut oil is a dangerous fat. Because when it's cooked, little bits of it go a long way. Putting it in spoons in your espresso, you're crazy to be doing that. Again, it congeals at room temperature. Think what it does to your arteries. Affluenza is killing India. We're losing our minds because we are getting richer. Eat like poor people, you'll be healthier.
My next question to you is, Suvir, you must have prepared cuisines and dishes where you find beef tallow or fish oil,
Happily.
Right. Tell me, what are these cuisines like, and why would somebody put it in Laddoos?
Somebody putting in Laddoos is doing it to save cost. We are we've had a white revolution. Amul is the world's biggest, most successful food industry, largest in the world. Mr. Mehta, who's the CEO, the managing director of Amul now, for years has been waking up Indians to the fact that as a dairy surplus nation, we are consuming dairy that isn't dairy. We have the biggest love child of India is quality ice cream, making ice creams that don't have dairy, that's made with palm oil, with vegetable fat and shortening, with water and chemicals and powders. So Indians don't think twice before ingesting food that is not honest and real. We don't do our homework. We are smitten by our deities that are doing matka chori.
How would someone do their homework if products, like you said, skincare products, or maybe say, what we got to know from this lab test report, that the ghee which was being used for the preparation of laddu, that had the animal fat and fish oil. How would anyone be aware of these things if the companies don't choose to project it on their labels? Like earlier we were talking, and I asked you, if the ghee dabbas, they have these labels, right? Now on those labels, you have a category called fat, which says 98%, 97%, whatever the percentage of fat is there in the ghee. But somebody will have to be transparent about it, right? The companies will have to tell us, even when it's skincare products.
It's a very difficult thing to do. When I lived in a farm in New York, I've lived in a farm for 18 years. I've lived in America for 32 years. America created this fad of labels. Better, healthy for your heart cereals. These are all sugar-laced cereals that are garbage, that you shouldn't feed your hated animal on the street because it's a heart attack waiting to happen, but it has a sign, heart healthy. How? Because they're comparing it to some other trashy food that it's better than. So marketing and labeling are the biggest enemies of humanity. It's in America, it's a $7 billion industry that's selling false trends and fake marketing. So when poor Amul and their managing director are screaming and yelling and going to the Prime Minister of India and saying, wake up India to the fact that 99% of our dairy is being polluted by fake ingredients, we should be listening. There are very few brands that are honest. There are very few brands that are not putting Fevicol in their paneer or their milk. They're diluting water into milk, then putting Fevicol to thicken it. We have all these things happening. What can we do? Go to places where we can see if there's calling it an organic farm, go visit that organic farm. Does it exist? If it exists, go visit, meet the owners, see the farm, touch the vegetables, the animals they're supposedly milking, understand are they real. In the absence of it, it's a leap of faith. Be careful, scratch beneath the surface, do some homework, and then the rest is Bhagwan Bharose. We live in India.
Yeah, so like the amazing chef said that we're the land of Ayurveda. I would just like to add, we are land of Ayurveda, but we cannot ignore the fact that the quality of soil from that times to this time present has depreciated horribly. So the nutrition itself, there is no nutrition in the food. The food is lacking the nutrition. And apart from that, whatever nutrition we get served on a platter is more of, pesticides and insecticides that we are eating. There are more of toxins than nutrition in today's time we are eating. That's why, the supplementation comes in the picture. But yes, a little awareness is a must. People should know what they're eating and not. But again, having no strict norms in India is something which is a lot high because, the food security is, I would sadly say, is zero. They're doing nothing for the country.
Insecurity.
There's so much of adulteration in the food. There is no limit. The farmers can, there's no bar. Farmers can use N amount of pesticides and all these toxins in the food. So we don't know by the time they're getting the final product in our hands, how much stages of toxin it has already been passed. So basically, the air is polluted, the water is polluted, the food that we're consuming is polluted, and we don't have any active advisory working in the favor of people of its own country that should actively participate, making people aware, and also at the same time taking certain small measures step by step to improve the food quality in our niche.
Right. Arooshi, my next question was that is there any alternative to beef tallow or fish oil? If someone who's watching it, like you said, it's more like a shocker. It can be a shocker to someone who doesn't eat beef at all, right? They can be eating, say, red meat or fish, but not beef, right? So is there any alternate, or how should people, approach this?
See, finding the true ingredients in any food is very difficult in today's time. We don't know how commercially it's prepared, how and what. Even if you go to the restaurants, you just ordered a food. You don't know what is the ingredient, how the preparation on the back end is going on, because you are not there participating in those cooking activities. You just trust, like, chef said, it's just a leap of faith. But, we have to understand this beef tallow and everything. To get beef tallow, we are slaughtering animals. Right. So, for our own selfish purpose, for these things that, it costs little cheaper than ghee or any good vegetable oil. So, we can use any good oil which is there in the market, which is polyunsaturated. Today, we have, rice oil is there. There is bran oil is there. They're all sunflower oil is there. So these are olive oil we have again. Mustard. So all these all are healthier oils that we can use.
Okay, great. We are also being joined by Dr. Shruti. How do beef tallow and fish oil affect gut health and digestion? Can you give your 2 bits on that?
Okay, so we have when beef tallow or fish oil is consumed, we have 2 things which we need to see. That is on the short term and on the long term. So somebody who's not used to consuming all these products, in a short term, they might have GI symptoms, something like bloating, abdominal cramps, GI reflux, or some kind of a heartburn, to put it in simple words. These are the common things that can be seen, which is on a short-term basis. And on a long-term basis, it could lead to something like a malabsorption because it may not be able to be digested, or a diarrhea, and even gallstones, which can, like a chronic consumption of all these products, can be contributing to conditions like gallstones. And also there have been few studies which have also shown that on a long-term basis, this can affect the gut microbiota and lead to other inflammatory conditions of the bowel, and also in few conditions like colon cancer. But that is anyway long-term, and there have been only few studies which show. But this is something that we need to keep in mind, that it can possibly lead to all these following things.
Okay, so when you say long term, is there like an amount of beef tallow that you were saying that the consumption of which will lead us to find ourselves having like bad gut health?
So on a general basis, it's quite difficult for me to say like this much amount for this many days. That's obviously quite difficult, and we need many more studies for us to mention those things. But if I had to mention it offhand, I would say something like on a regular basis for months together. So it would include like let's say like certain number of days at least in a week.
Mhm.
And that is leading for at least for a few months together, at least 4 to 6 months together. But these are all the rough numbers. I'd like to mention that beforehand, because for me to quote the exact numbers, we'll have to look into a little more of literature and scientific data for that. But definitely on a regular basis for many months together can lead to these problems. That is when I mention of a chronic or a long-term problem.
Okay. And you're talking about a healthy person consuming it, right?
Yes, perfectly. Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, I mean, are there any common misconceptions that you encounter regarding fats, in relation to gut health? Like you said that there are some repercussions of, consuming it, but are there any misconceptions around it? Because we were discussing earlier, and Arooshi and Suvir said that, it's like a shocker for vegetarians. But are there any misconceptions that you would like to point out?
Misconception like I see in my everyday practice, because I'm a gastroenterologist. So the usual things that people come and ask me is they think it's like a one common solution for everyone. No, it is not that way. It is very individualized. So it depends from a person to person. So who should consume and who should not be consuming. Like just because few people think that fish oil is.
If someone has digestive issues, for example.
So it's not like everyone needs to consume it, or everyone should nobody should consume it. It's definitely not that way. It has to be advised by your doctor based on what condition you have. Like let's say somebody is already having an irritable bowel syndrome and they have been asked to restrict few products. There is no point in them consuming few products only because they have been told by their other friends or by WhatsApp University or by Google University saying that they need to be taking these. So no, so it's something that is completely which needs to be individualized. Like let's say somebody is already having gallstones and they have just been told this fat, one particular fat is good for health and one particular fat is bad for health. So that does not mean to say that good fat needs to be consumed on a regular basis and on a chronic basis. So for me as a gastroenterologist, what I would like to say is that it is something that needs to be individualized. All that with respect to the food, it has to be based on what condition that they are already having and what is it that they already consume as a family or as an individual. Just because something is good, they need not completely change their food, their menu and say, okay, this is something really good and I have to incorporate it whether I like it or not. No, it is not that way. It has to be tailor-made for each individual.
So customize it if need be, and
See, that's why we come in the picture, because when an individual visits us, we are tailoring everything, we're monitoring everything, and we're prescribing a certain diet to them, considering every panel of it. What are their requirements? What is their therapeutic condition? What is, where exactly their DCA is, where exactly everything is. And that's how we help them encounter those issues, whatever they have in their daily life.
And then the chef has to make it sexy, tasty, delectable, addictive, and work for them. Because if you give healthy food that nobody likes, they're running to McDonald's and KFC and eating crap that has all of what we've talked about and worse. So
Yeah,
at the end,
right.
I think what I heard the doctor say is individualized. Beef tallow, ghee, butter, are they terrible? They are for the heart in the long run. But if you're eating them with a lot of leafy greens, whole grains, beautiful cruciferous vegetables, and putting traces of it, no big deal. So we have to be practical, sensible, eat mostly whole grains and plant-based food, indulge every now and then with these things, be very aware that no matter how the marketing and labels that we are being shown, what they say and write, we're being fooled many times more than we imagine. And leave your moral high ground behind you. Chase flavor, chase whole foods, and the chances are you live a better, richer, happier life and go less to the GI tract doctor that we are talking about, the gastroenterologist, and the nutritionist will advise you to do the right thing. But cook together as a family, whole foods, enjoy them at home more than restaurants. I'm a restaurant chef telling you this. I say families that eat and cook together are happier and healthier in the longer run.
Yeah, Suvir, you gave me the closing for this whole conversation, so thank you so much. But Arooshi, Dr. Shruti, and Suvir, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm
Thank you
sure
for having
viewers
us.
watching this discussion would not freak out
Thank you.
if they suddenly get to know they have consumed something they shouldn't have, or by choice or not by choice, eat healthy and make sure that you are reading what you are eating. You need to know what you're consuming, what's going inside your body. So thank you so much. On that note, Arooshi, Suvir, and Dr. Shruti, thank you so much for joining me, and thank
Thank
you
you so much
viewers
for
for
having us.
watching
Thank you.
this discussion. If you liked it, then don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, The Indian Express. Thank you so much for joining.